Okay, we're going to record, okay? So today, in my time, in Houston time, is January the 11th, 6:30 p.m. What's your time, Donna? You're in Beijing, right?
Oh, yes. Beijing, it's January 12th, 10 o'clock in the 10:37 in the morning.
Okay, 10 in the morning. So you are waking up. So you are very energetic and you're ready to study. So we are using this textbook. We have been studying this one for half a year, the Western Heritage Combined Edition in Harvard and Yale University. So the two universities, Yale University and Harvard University, are using this one for first year freshmen. So because we are doing AP, World History class, and right now, after half a year, finally we get to the Age of Enlightenment, 18th century thought. This is one of the most exciting moments in European history. One of them is Renaissance. Okay, the Renaissance, we spend a lot of time on Renaissance, Medici family, so on and so forth. But the second part is the Age of Enlightenment. All these intellectual giants are there. We talk about Leibniz and Isaac Newton last Wednesday, right? This Wednesday with the high schoolers, okay? Now, by yourself, we are going to study Montesquieu's The Spirit of the Law and Rousseau, radical critique of modern society, especially on social contrast. I learned these things in law school and graduate school. And you're learning this one when you're 11 years old. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of myself. And I feel a little jealous, okay? Because I'm getting old. And I only studied these things when I was, pretty old. But it's not easy. And your job is to ask questions. Your job is to challenge me. My job is to do my best to, talk with you and think it deeply. So now let's go to this part and you read, and whenever you have different concepts you don't understand, we will study together. Okay, find the page.
From Newton and Locke?
No, we are doing Montesquieu, you see.
Oh, okay.
And Rousseau, 1, 2, 3. And then if we have time, we do enlightened absolutism, Frederick the Great. The philosophers, we're talking about the philosophers right now.
Montesquieu, 619.
619, wonderful. So the subtitle is a political source of the philosophers. You start from here, go.
Okay. Nor was the philosophy's appreciation of the complexity of the problems of contemporary society clearer than their political thought. Nor did any other area of their reformist enterprise so clearly illustrate the tension and conflict within the family of the Enlightenment. Most philosophies were discontented with certain political features of their countries, but they were especially discontented in France. There the corruptness of the royal court, the blundering of the bureaucracy, the less than glorious mid-century wars, and the power of the church compounded all problems.
We talk about 7 years war, right? 7 years war in Europe, in Asia, especially in North America, highly expensive because of the transportation, because of the British controlled ocean, right? British Navy is more powerful than France, so it's far more difficult for the France to supply troops in North America. And because they are very bureaucratic, they are not using the most capable people, so they lost the war. They spent a lot of money, they lost the war. Okay, go ahead. So that's the background. Okay, so later on, next semester we're going to study the Tale of Two Cities. Then we are going to use a lot of these philosophies and philosophers thinking. Go ahead.
The French philosophies, however, stood quite divided as to the proper solution to the country's problems. Their attitudes spanned a wide political spectrum, from aristocratic reform to a democracy to absolute monarchy. Montesquieu and Spirit of the Laws. Charles Louis de Secondat.
Baron, he's a baron. A baron is a very high title, right? Very high title in France. Baron de Montesquieu. Go.
Was a lawyer, noble of the robe, and a member of provincial parliament. He also belonged to the Bordeaux Academy of Science, before which he presented papers on scientific topics. Although living comfortably within the bosom of French society, he saw the need for reform. In 1721, he published the Persian Letters to satirize.
Stop. Persian letters belong to literature. But as a lawyer, I also studied them. As a law school student, you need to study that. That is also called comparative constitutional law, because they study the constitution of France, the constitution in the Persian Empire and the Ottoman Empire. They compare the civilization between the Muslim countries and the Christian countries. Okay? And in itself, these letters are beautiful. And it's also a novel. It's a novel, letter, political science, and jurisprudence. So, and it's very enjoyable reading. I have it in my bookshelf. When you come back here, you can check it out from my personal library. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Satirize contemporary institutions. The book consisted of letters purportedly written by two Persians visiting Europe. They explained to friends at home how European behavior contrasted with Persian life and customs. Behind the humor lay the cutting edge of criticism and an exposition of the cruelty and irrationality of much contemporary European life. In his most enduring work, Spirit of the Laws, 1748, Montesquieu held up the example of the British Constitution as the widest model for regulating the power of government. With his interest in science, his hope for reform, and his admiration for Britain, he embodied all the major elements of the Enlightenment mind.
Considering French and Britain are military enemies, it's very relatively difficult for him as a French philosopher to praise the political system of your enemy nations. Mm-hmm. Think about how difficult it is, okay? But he's an aristocrat, so he have more freedom to express himself. Go ahead.
Montesquieu's Spirit of the Laws, perhaps the single most influential book of the century, exhibits in the internal tensions of the Enlightenment. In it, Montesquieu pursued an empirical method.
What is the empirical method? You collect data. You collect facts and you categorize them. That's empirical evidence. Go.
Taking illustrative examples from the political experience of both ancient and modern nations. From these, he concluded there could be no single set of political laws that apply to all peoples at a time and in all places. The good political life depended rather on the relationship among many political variables. Whether the best form of government for a country was a monarchy or a republic, for example, depended on its size, population, social and religious customs, economic structure, traditions, and climate. Only a careful examination and evaluation of these elements would reveal what mode of government would prove most beneficial to a particular people.
Oh, write it down. So I remembered his political idea about the political system is environmental geographical determinism. different geography, different climates determine the characteristic of the people. You are Northerners, German people, and Italian people behave differently. British people and Italian people, when you have different religions, like Romeo and Juliet, they are what religion?
Catholic.
Catholic. Are they in a northern country or southern country? Southern country. So it's very hot environment, That's why they killed themselves, Juliet, when she was 13 years old. Right? So William Shakespeare would say, we, good Christians, we don't do something like that. We have different religion. Okay? We are Puritans. No, he's not a Puritan, but he's a Reformed people. He's Anglican, I think. He's Anglican. At least they get rid of the Catholic religion, right? Henry VIII, you know that, all those story. And also, we are Germanic people. We don't behave like you, right? So Montesquieu also studied that. If you have different climates, different environment, you have different political system. Okay, go ahead. That is the geography determinism. Go ahead. When you have a question, make sure you ask. Go.
Okay. So far as France was concerned, Montesquieu had some definite ideas. He believed in a monarchical government tempered and limited by various sets of intermediary
in the middle. For example, aristocrats. Oh, we aristocrats can become a buffer zone between you, the king, and the population. If the population hate you, they can hate us first. They can blame us rather than directly to you. Okay. So that's why they want aristocracy to become the buffer zone between the monarchy and the angry population. Go.
These included the aristocracy, the towns, and the other corporate bodies that enjoyed liberties the monarch had to respect. These corporate bodies might be said to represent various segments of the general population and thus of public opinion. In France, he regarded the aristocratic courts or parliament as the major example of an intermediary association. Their role was to limit the power of the monarchy and thus to preserve the liberty of its subjects. In championing these aristocratic bodies and the general role of the aristocracy, Montesquieu was a political conservative. He adopted this conservatism in the hope of achieving reform, however, for he believed the oppressive and inefficient absolutism of the monarch accounted for the degradation
of the French life. He is criticizing Louis XIV. Write it down. He's criticizing the life of Louis XIV. At the very beginning range under Louis XIV, they built a strong central government. They control all the power of Paris, and they fight a lot of foreign wars, and they win. But gradually, Louis XIV is getting more and more arrogance, and he believes he has some divinity. I am the kingdom. I can do whatever I want. That make the French culture going down rather than going up. Make sense? So he's using this book indirectly criticizing the reign of Louis XIV. Go ahead.
One of Montesquieu's most influential ideas was that of the division of power in government. For his model of a government with authority wisely separated among different branches, he took contemporary Great Britain. There he believed executive power resided in the king, legislative power in the parliament, and judicial power in the courts.
The three branches of government. This builds the foundation of the US government, right? The balance of power between the executive, like a president, the parliament is US Congress. and the judicial power at the Supreme Court and all the other courts. Okay, so remember, executive, president, Congress, legislature making laws, and then the Supreme Court, the three branch. Okay, where the idea come from? Montesquieu. He's a French dude. So the United States own French a lot of intellectual debt. Okay, go.
He thought
perception. Go.
He thought any two branches could check and balance the power of the other. His perception of the 18th century British Constitution was incorrect because he failed to see how patronage and electoral corruption allowed a handful of powerful aristocrats to dominate the government. Moreover, he was also unaware of the emerging cabinet system, which was slowly making the executive power a creature of the parliament. The cabinet system?
Cabinet system. The king controls the ministers. The king chooses ministers. The whole ministers get into one room, and then they discuss how to implement the law. That's the cabinets. Like United States government right now have a cabinets controlled by the president. The president select the different ministers. The secretary of the treasury collect money, using money, and secretary of defense. All these ministers getting together collectively with the president, under the president, they are the cabinets. Okay, go ahead.
Which was slowly making the executive power a creature of the parliament. Nevertheless, Montesquieu's analysis illustrated his strong sense that monarchs should be subject to constitutional limits on their power, and that a separate legislature, not the monarch, should formulate laws. For this reason, although he set out to defend the political privileges of the French aristocracy, Montesquieu's ideas had a profound and still lasting effect on the constitutional form of liberal democracies of the next 2 centuries.
Which is the next 200 years. So his influence, his book influenced 200 years. Europe, North America, not South America, okay? They are copycats. They don't do anything good, useful. Okay, next one, Rousseau. This guy is a strange, one of the most very weird person on earth. You can say he is a wonderful person. Many people worship him. And you can say this guy is a piece of trash. Okay, he's a genius, but as a person, it's very debatable. When I started my teaching career, I read Rousseau's whole book on education. He read a book about politics, education, moral, literature, ethics, economy, everything. And this guy is basically self-educated. So you know all the genius, most of the genius, they're self-educated. Their formal education is only a tool for them to reach their intellectual potential. Make sense? So now read this guy and ask questions. Okay. I read his social contract many times. It's a very difficult reading, but it's beautifully organized. The structure is like a Greek architecture. Okay, you can write a book as beautiful as architecture, but his personal life is a mess. Okay, and he write them down in the book called Confession. He confessed. He told everybody, anything I do wrong, I tell you. So now he's his own judge. And you read that book, it's not appropriate for your age. Okay, later on when you go to college, when you get in a graduate school, read his confession. And compare this person with his thinking. His writing is beautiful, 100%. Go ahead.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau held a view of the exercise and reform of political power quite different from Montesquieu's. Rousseau was a strange, isolated genius who never felt particularly comfortable with the other
Philosophers, basically.
His own life was troubled. He could form few close friendships. He sired numerous children whom he abandoned to founding.
Isn't that ironical? He fathered some children, but he didn't take any responsibility to them. But he wrote books about how to do moral education, how to inspire people, how to make other people into perfect human beings. What kind of people is this? No. You can say you are hypocrites. No, it's not that simple. When he doing his education thing, when he write his book, he's 100% sincere. If he's not sincere, he will tell you. Make sense? So that's why this person is very complicated. He's a far more complicated Polonius than. Okay, go ahead. He abandoned his own children into foundling hospitals. Go ahead.
Yet perhaps more than any other writer of the mid-18th century, he transcended the political thought and values of his own time. Rousseau had a deep antipathy toward the world and the society in which he lived. It seemed to him impossible for human beings living according to contemporary commercial values to achieve moral, virtuous, or sincere lives. In 1750, in his Discourse on the Moral Effects of the Arts and Sciences, he contended that the process of civilization and enlightenment had corrupted human nature. In 1775, in his Discourse on the Origin of Inequality, Rousseau blamed much of the evil world on the uneven distribution of the property. In both works, Rousseau brilliantly and directly challenged the social fabric of the day. He drew into question the concepts of material and intellectual progress and the morality of a society in which commerce and industry were regarded as the most important human activities. He felt that the real purpose of the society was to nurture better people. In this respect, Rousseau's vision of reform was much more radical than that of other contemporary writers. The other philosophers believed that life would improve if people could enjoy more of the fruits of the earth or could produce more goods. Rousseau raised the more fundamental question of what constitutes the good life. This question has haunted European social thought ever since the 18th century.
So he raised a very serious question. Did our material progress bring in a better society? His answer is no. The more we're getting richer, we have more things to consume. It brings disaster to our life. That's number one. Number two, knowledge. The pursuit of knowledge also corrupted. According to him, it doesn't mean I'm teaching him, doesn't mean I believe in him, right? The pursuit of knowledge brings society into corruption. Is that true? He was very convincing. And he was quoting Bible. The King of Solomon said that the study of knowledge can bring you sadness. Is that true? I don't know. That's your answer. You will answer. You will. Don't believe anybody. Study them well and then make your own conclusion using your real life as a mirror. Make sense? And make your own decision. I'm not going to put the idea in your mind. I just tell you Rousseau is a wonderful writer, but this person is full of contradiction. And his contradiction are to the extreme. Make sense? By the way, without him, they may not have, French Revolution may not have happened. The aristocrat may not get their head cut off. Right? But who supported Rousseau? Most of them are aristocrats. That's life's irony. Okay, so when we read the Tale of Two Cities, we'll mention Rousseau again. Okay, go ahead. Rousseau, next page.
So carried these same concerns into his political thought. His most extensive discussion of politics appeared in the Social Contract.
The Social Contract, write that down. I read that little book word by word in order to keep myself wake up. I read that book standing up. So I read that book standing up. Okay, so I won't feel asleep. Okay, so I remember them. I can even recite them right now. The beginning of the book talk about people are born free. That's the definition. We are born free. But everywhere you go, you are in slavery. Doesn't matter you are king or you are slave. Even if you are king, if you're official, you're provincial governor, you are the slave of your social circumstance. It's self-contradictory, right? Everybody is born free. You have your free will. But everywhere, anytime you go, you are in slavery. I mean, you are restricted by the social circumstance. You have no freedom. You are born free, but you have no freedom. That's the beginning of his book on social contract. Make sense? So that's how contradiction. It's ridiculous, but it's true. It's true, but it's ridiculous. Okay, go.
Although the book attracted rather little immediate attention, by the end of the century it was widely read in France. The Social Contract, compared with Montesquieu's Spirit of the Laws, is a very abstract book. It does not propose specific reforms, but outlines the kind of political structure that Rousseau believed would overcome the evils of contemporary politics and society. In the tradition of John Locke
theory, write it down. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Write that down on the book. His philosophy, life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Being translated by who that dude? Jefferson.
Yeah, that sounds so familiar.
Yeah. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah, the pursuit of happiness. So John Locke, the British philosopher, built the foundation, philosophical foundation for the American Revolution. Make sense? Without John Locke, there won't be American Revolution. Without Rousseau, there won't be French Revolution. That's how philosophy can influence society. Okay. Go ahead, John Locke. So we will study the whole paragraph or maybe even a whole chapter on John Locke. Go ahead.
Most 18th century political thinkers regarded human beings as individuals in society as a collection of individuals pursuing personal, selfish goals. These writers wished to liberate individuals from the undue bonds of government. Rousseau picked up the stick from the other end. His book opens with the declaration, "All men are born free, but everywhere they are in chains."
Read it again. Read it again.
All men are born free, but everywhere they are in chains.
So my memory is okay, right? So I didn't have Alzheimer yet. Go ahead.
The rest of the volume is a defense of the chains of a properly organized society over its members. Rousseau suggested that society is more important than its individual members, because they are what they are only because their relationship to the larger community. Independent human beings living alone can achieve very little. Through their relationship to the larger community, they become
They become moral creatures. What is the moral creatures? The people know right from wrong according to established social standards. You don't decide whether you're right or wrong. Who decides? Society decides. Society through what? Through voting, through elected representatives. These people make law, and decide whether you are moral or not moral. You don't decide whether you're moral or not. Very authoritarian idea. He wanted freedom, but he gave the society a very authoritarian idea. It's irony. This guy is, that's why they call him an isolated, crazy genius. Go ahead.
Because they are what they are, only because of their relationship to the larger community. Independent human beings living alone can achieve very little. Through their relationship to the larger community, they become moral creatures capable of significant action. The question then becomes what kind of community allows people to behave morally. In his two previous discourses, Rousseau had explained that contemporary European society was not such a community. It was merely an aggregate of competing individuals whose chief social goal was to preserve selfish independence in spite of all potential social bonds and obligations. Rousseau envisioned a society in which each person could maintain personal freedom while behaving as a loyal member of the large community. Drawing on the traditions of Plato and Calvin, he defined...
Who is Plato and who is Calvin?
Plato is the teacher of Aristotle, and he's
a student of Socrates, the greatest thinker ever, but he was killed by which country, which government? Athens. Athens, Greek, ancient Greek, Athens, by voting. He was voted to die, okay, by drinking poison. Oh, I'm not drinking poison yet, okay, drinking poison. So, okay, he is the smartest person and he's an educator and he don't collect money, okay? Unlike me, I collect money, I teach for money. Because if I teach for free, people will kill me. And he was killed for teaching for free. Make sense? So his students learned the lesson, and then Plato collect money, and Aristotle, of course, he collect gold. Aristotle collect gold. So he lived pretty long. I should collect gold too, but I'm not that smart. Okay. Okay, so but I learned a serious lesson, okay? And Plato learned a serious lesson, but his teacher's death shocked him. So his writing is totally distrustful of democracy. Make sense? Plato's political philosophy, he wanted a philosophical king. A philosopher become king, a king become a philosopher. He wanted the best government is a kingdom, not democracy, not even a republic. Okay, now we talk about Calvin. Who's Calvin?
John Calvin is the father of Calvinism.
Wonderful. Okay. Good job, good job. Religious reformer. Okay. The spiritual father of the Puritanism in the United States. Okay. Very extreme, very extreme. Go ahead. He defined freedom
as obedience
to the law. Freedom is not go against the law. Freedom is obedience, follow the law. A lot of people get a mistaken conception about freedom. Freedom is to follow the law rather than against the law. Go ahead.
In his case, the law to be obeyed was that creatured by the general will. In a society with virtuous customs and morals in which citizens have adequate information on important issues, the concept of the general will is normally equivalent to the will of a majority of voting citizens. Democratic participation in decision-making would blind the individual citizen to the community. Rousseau believed that the general will, the thus understood, must always be right and that to obey the general will is to be free. This argument led him to the notorious conclusion that under certain circumstances, some people must be forced to be free.
must be forced to be free. I put you into prison because I want you to be free. So that's why this one called notorious conclusion that under certain circumstances, some people must be forced to be free because law is against you. That's the foundation, philosophical foundation to build a concentration camp.
You have to be forced to be free, but then it's not free then. From personal
These
perspective.
people who cut down all these aristocrats' head totally believe in Rousseau. Make sense? People voted to kill you, so the best result for you is to die. That is such a terrible idea. But he's a genius. But genius, what? What do they do to humanity? Okay. His a powerful idea still influence France. Okay. So be careful of the people to go to France to study political science. Most of them become tyrants. Most of them. Okay, like a Pol Pot. That guy go to France to study and kill 1/3 of his own population in Asia. Pol Pot, Cambodia. It's true. And that's in my generation. That shows how old I am. Shame on me. Okay, anyway. Don't talk about that. Go ahead, next paragraph. Rousseau had in effect
launched an assault on the 18th century cult of the individual and the fruits of selfishness. He stood at odds with the commercial spirit that was transforming the society in which he lived. Rousseau would have disapproved of the main thrust of Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations.
So we talk about Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, right? Last chapter. This guy built the foundation of modern economy. 严复翻译的《国富论》以后，物竞天择，适者生存。不是，这个一个是《国富论》，他翻译了2本书，一个是《国富论》，一个是《天演论》。Okay, he translated 2 books. One is this guy, the other is Darwin. Darwin's theory. Okay. So Adam Smith and Darwin. One concept about economy, the other turned about biology. Change the whole biology field. Go
on. Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, which he may or may not have read and would no doubt have preferred a study on the virtue of nations. Smith wanted people to be
prosperous, be rich.
Rousseau wanted them to be good, even if being good meant that they might remain poor. He saw human beings as not independent individuals, but as creatures enmeshed,
deep inside, immersed, deeply involved, deeply living inside. Go.
He believed that the loyalty to the community should be encouraged. As one device to that end, he suggested a civic religion based on the creed of deism. Such a shared religious faith would help unify a society. Rousseau's chief source...
Did we talk about deism last time?
No, I don't think so.
Then I need to email that to you, the whole concept of deism, because a lot of American founding fathers are deists. Now you need to read this one. See a push.
Deism.
Right, read this word. Go.
Wow, that's pretty long. Belief in the existence of a supreme being, especially over a creator who does not intervene in the universe. The term is used chiefly on an intellectual movement of the 17th and 18th centuries that accepted the existence of a creator on the basis of reason but rejected belief in a supernatural deity who interacts with humankind.
Okay, let's deism a push. AP US history, deism. See how deism influence United States history. Okay, but this time we are learning world history, but that time United States is getting more and more important. I'm going to email this one to you. So you need to read this one. Go. First.
Deism is not a religion, but a religious philosophy. It advances the theory that God exists, that he created the universe, but does not intervene in the affairs of humankind.
Go ahead.
Deism emerged during the Enlightenment in the 17th and 18th centuries, initially in England, later in France and other European countries, and also in America. Deism serves to rationalize the existence of God with newly surfacing scientific discoveries and belief in the existence of free will. Deists generally place their trust in reason and disdain revelation.
Disdain, don't look down upon revelation. Revelation. The last book of Bible is called the Revelation. Go ahead.
As well as the teachings of a specific church. Some elements of deism serve today in Unitarianism.
That's one branch of Christianity in the United States. With the next paragraph is very important. Go ahead.
Washington, Franklin, Jefferson, and Paine were prominent deists in the 18th century America.
Were prominent deists in the 18th century, and their belief influenced U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, and a very important document. Okay, I'm going to email this one to you. You need to finish all of them. If you don't understand, ask me. Okay, ask me. Deism and U.S. So, okay, go ahead.
Rousseau's chief source of intellectual inspiration was Plato and the ancient Greek polis. Especially in Sparta, he thought he had discovered human beings dwelling in a moral society inspired by a common purpose. That modern human beings might also create such a moral commonwealth in which virtuous living would be valued over commercial profit. Rousseau had only a marginal impact on his own time. The other philosophers questioned his critique of material improvement. Aristocrats and royal proposal for royal ministers could hardly be expected to welcome his proposal for radical democracy. Too many people were either making or hoping to make money to appreciate his criticism of commercial values.
Good job.
He proved, however, to be a figure to whom later generations returned. Many leaders in the French Revolution were familiar with his writings, and he influenced most writers in the 19th and 20th centuries who were critical of the general tenor and direction of Western culture. Rousseau hated much about the emerging modern society in Europe, but he contributed much to modernity by exemplifying.
Make example of. Go ahead. Keep on going, and then finish this one. We will finish about Rousseau, and we will do Frederick the Great of Prussia, and he's the result of. Okay, let's start from Frederick the Great of Prussia. Okay, look at this guy. I always want my students to look at the image of this person, especially this one. At almost the end of his life, he asked a person, a very famous artist, to draw his picture. Now, look at this face, and you tell me, what did you see? What kind of this person's characteristics from the facial impression? Read his face like a book and tell me something. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Very broad forehead. He's a thinker. So-called philosopher king. He is. Look his facial, the line in the face. There's no fat flesh. This guy thinks deeply and he's very cruel to other people and to himself. Self-disciplined. And he's tired. Look at he's tired. He worked long hours for the benefit of the country, for the glory of Prussia. Practice self-denial. Very skeptical about human nature. Okay. He's a philosopher. He can act ruthlessly and efficiently, but he's not doing it for his own benefit and glorification, for the benefit of glorification of his country. Look at his dress. As a king, he's a very simple dresser. Compare with Louis XIV. Make sense? Compare his portrait. If you don't make a comparison, you don't know anything, right? A good student and a bad student, you have to compare, right? Everything is relative. Compare with the photo I showed you last time of Louis XIV. Can you remember something?
Louis XIV from his painting.
His portrait. Compare the two. Look at this.
His attire is like, it's magnificent, and he looks like someone, he looks like an absolute monarch.
Yeah, both of them are actually absolute monarch. Both of them are absolute monarch. But this one wants his power to be controlled by reason, controlled by the Enlightenment philosophy. So he's a philosopher first, and he is a general, and he's a king. He worked for the state. For the Louis XIV, the state worked for him. Do you understand me? The state for Louis XIV benefited me. Your existence is for my glorification. I am France. Make sense? I am France. France is me. Whatever is right for me is right for you, for the country. So obey me and pay up. Make sense? But this guy said he is the servant of the Prussia kingdom. My job, according to him, is to serve. And if he treats his people ruthlessly, he treats himself even worse. Make sense? So I want you to read his quote. And then you can use that even the Frederick the Great quotes. And you can find out how different this guy is. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's more than enough. 58. 58.
Wow.
You only need to read 5. And I gave this one to you for your leisure time, and then you can read it. Why it's so slow? Why it's so slow? Frederick II, also known as Frederick the Great, was the king of Prussia who belonged to Hohenzollern dynasty. Very weak dynasty, but then later on become, this whole document.
Almost as good as Medici's?
Not as powerful as, not as rich, not half as rich as Medici's. Bring me code. This one is good. So choose some of the things you like. Okay, randomly read 5. Go.
Every man has wild beasts within him.
Let me including him. Go.
Don't forget your great guns, which are the most respectable arguments of the right of kings. Religion is the idol of the mob. It adores everything it does not understand.
Go. Do this. My people and I. Go.
Come to an agreement which satisfied us both. They are to say what they please, and I am to do what I please.
So they give people freedom of speech, but he will do whatever. Oh, read this one. Uneducated people can be easily governed. What does this mean?
Uneducated people can be easily governed.
Because he teaches his people to obey. Make sense? He teaches his people to be, he established the public school system, the first public school system in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to send this one to you. So he's very smart guy. Okay, he's a very smart guy, but he's also ruthless. Don't forget your great guns, which are the most respected argument of the right of the kings. When he have a disagreement with the other kingdom, he bring his very most efficient army. Okay, so yeah, there is some similarity between him and this dude. They all love warfare. Okay, anyway, read the page 628.
Frederick the Great of Prussia.
Yeah, finish this paragraph and then class will be over. Okay, first paragraph, go.
Frederick II the Great sought the recovery and consolidation.
Consolidation, putting them together, put the different pieces of the German kingdom together. Okay, now we look at the Frederick the Great.
Consolidation of Prussia in the wake of its suffering and near defeat in the mid-century wars. He succeeded at great military and financial cost in retaining Silesia, which he had seized from Austria in 1740, and worked to promote it as a manufacturing district. Like his Hohenzollern forebears, he continued to import workers from outside Prussia. He directed new attention to Prussian agriculture. Under state supervision, swamps were drained, new crops introduced, and peasants encouraged and sometimes compelled to migrate where they were needed. For the first time in Prussia, potatoes and turnips came into general production. Frederick also established a land mortgage credit association to help landowners raise money for agricultural improvements. The impetus for these economic policies came from the state. The monarchy and its bureaucracy were the engine for change. Most Prussians, however, did not prosper under Frederick's reign. The burden of taxation continued to fall disproportionately on peasants and townspeople.
OK， 好了，作业时间了，到作业时间了，快到下课时间了。OK， 到下课时间了，所以就给你留作业。第一呢，把这个把你正在读的读完。OK， 把这个普鲁士国王，这个哲学家国王的这一段读完，然后把他的引文，他的 most important quotes， 读一下，然后呢，看一看这些东西。读一下，看一看他的引文哪些能够对你有影响，你觉得什么是有道理的，什么是没有道理的。第二个632页。看看俄罗斯的叶卡捷琳娜二世，不，叶卡捷琳娜大帝。叶卡捷琳娜大帝 Catherine the Great，
哦，
一般叫 Great， 中文翻译成大帝。大帝王，
但是她是女的啊。
女的就是唯一的世界历史上能够女人当政能达到这么高的位置。
像武则天一样吗？
差不多哎，差不多哎，比武则天甚至更高一些。
哦，是吗？
我想一想啊，对，跟中国历史上的武则天的地位应该是相同的。但是他给俄罗斯获得的领土是武则天做不到的，他把俄罗斯的领土扩张了1倍。
哇哦！
所以说你要把这个叶卡捷琳娜大帝的所有的全都读完，从632页一直读到结束。比如说，他瓜分了波兰。三国瓜分波兰这一段读一读，尤其是把地图看完。下次上课的时候，我们从瓜分波兰这一段开始讨论。所以说，你至少要读到637页的半页。好了，就可以了，可以了。638页的6个问题，看你能不能回答一个，任何一个。好不好？
好。
那么呢，你如果能够回答这个大学的课程的作业，那么你的思维会越来越深。然后呢，你如果这里哪一个问题不懂，我们一起讨论。所以说，这个对我也是一个 challenge。OK， 这个回答这几个问题回答好了都不容易。OK， 所以说，比如说第一个就挺难，你把第一个给我读一下，然后就下课了。
Okay. How did the Enlightenment change basic Western attitudes toward reform, faith, and reason?
不容易吧？接着说。
What were the major formative influences on the philosophers? How important were Voltaire and the Encyclopedia in the success of the Enlightenment?
对呀，还有一个著名的作家叫 Voltaire。我喜欢去的那个法国的那个咖啡店，上边挂着 Voltaire 的 quotes。OK， 就表示他这个店很有学问，对对对，所以说要多收你点钱，是不是？所以说呢，他的一个小的咖啡店，所谓的乡村咖啡店，都要把 Voltaire 的哲学写在上面。看，所以说呢，我到时候下堂课我们会跟你讲一些 Voltaire 的 quote。所以说，下次你在那个法国店喝咖啡的时候 ，you know what's going on， OK？ and you decide whether they should charge you more。OK， OK，see you next week。Bye。
Okay.
Bye。